The inhabitants refer to it as the planet Earth.
Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if you've not been here before. This is a video that's basically saying I need to get back to my first love. So, there's been lots of book events lately. I did a video a little while ago called What I'm Not Reading, and it was like I want to read these books, but I was doing lots of book events, so I couldn't read them. And this is not the same books, but I'm giving September a label so that I get stuck in to some of these books I'm going to talk about. So September is a month that I don't normally get involved in book events, and this video is going up as we're in the thick of Garb August. So I'm definitely going out of my comfort zone for some of Garb August. Some of it I'm not, but definitely some of it I am. So it's nice to get to the point in September where I'll be reading books I really want to read by authors I really want to get to know more. So I'm going to go through some of the books I'll be reading from the two massive boxes I've got upstairs of vintage science fiction, because for me, September is going to be sci-fi September. So science fiction. Oh yeah. I want to get back into space. So let's have a look at these. So tell me if you've read these, because it may sway me as far as what I get to first. But I've had this for a while. I really want to read this. Joanna Russ's The Female Man, a classic, very influential, very important science fiction book that explores gender. But I don't know a lot about it except for that. And I'm deliberately going in blind. But Joanna Russ, The Female Man. The sequel to it's not Little Fuzzy, is it? Is it Little Fuzzy? Yeah, Little Fuzzy. Little Fuzzy. The sequel to Little Fuzzy. I really like that. H.B. Piper's very famous novel about, or kind of about animal rights in many ways. It's like a big court case about whether a species should be seen as sentient or not, because there's like humans trying to mine it for the materials, and it's affecting their habitat. So this is the sequel. So I'm really pleased to have this. And I was absolutely made up when I found it in the shop. I couldn't believe it. So I need to read this. And this is another one I've had downstairs for so long that I'm thinking, right, I'm about to read this. Eric Frank Russell's Wasp. So I know that this is a book that the wasp in question is this. It's a metaphor for how they deal with this threat they've got, and the spaceship is acting like a wasp to overcome the fact it's a bit of a David and Goliath situation. So yeah, again, trying to go in blind, but yeah, I want to read this as well. Eric Frank Russell's Wasp. Have you read that? What do you think? Another one that I've had for a while, managed to find a second hand. It's the old SF Masterworks design. Kate Wilhelms, Where Late the Sweet Birds Sang. Past tense. They're not singing anymore. Where Late the Sweet Birds Sang. So, yeah. Really want to read this. Have you read this? It's a lovely cover. Have you read this? Tell me if you've read it. And I've got another one by her as well, The Infinity Box, I think it's called. So, yeah, I look forward to finding out what I think of Kate Wilhelm. I still haven't read Brian Aldiss' Earthworks, and I ought to have read this. I've been reading science fiction all my life, and I haven't read that for some reason. So, yeah, I need to read that. It's very short, actually, so about time I got stuck in with that. Brian Aldiss is a very influential editor as well as an author, and I've read many books that he's edited, but I need to read Earthworks. This is one that, again, I was so pleased to find it, and this was going to be one of my explorations of time travel, because eventually I'm going to do my top 25 time travel books. I've done a couple of other videos on time travel books, but I was going to do like an all-encompassing sort of top favourites kind of one. But this is one I need to read before I get to that point, which is Robert Silverberg's Up the Line. So I know a bit about it, and I think I'm going to really like it. And the more I read of Robert Silverberg, the more I like. So Robert Silverberg's Up the Line. And I really enjoyed Tau Zero by Paul Anderson. And this is Guardians of Time, another sort of time police kind of thing. So another time travel story. Again, very short, so I ought to get through this. And I did really like the Tau Zero, as I said, so I'm definitely keen to read more. I've got about 3 others by him, besides this one and Tau Zero, so we'll see how we get on. But have you read this one? He's written stories about time travel a few times, actually. This is a bizarre one. This is Anthony Burgess, so obviously most famous for Clockwork Orange. He wrote The Wanting Seed, and this is just very strange. It's like, to deal with overpopulation, they make homosexuality mandatory, and there's all sorts of things that this society creates to deal with overpopulation. So yeah, I'll read this, and I imagine I will have a reaction to it because it sounds a little bit challenging politically. So we'll see. Anthony Burgess, The Wanting Seed. I really liked everything I've read by Joe Haldeman, and this is one of several books I need to read by him. The Long Habit of Living. I think that looks really cool, and I do like him as a writer. So we'll see what that's like. So I think this is about immortality. Yeah, so it's got an interesting plot. I'll see what I think of that. Science fiction books on immortality are pretty cool. And I ought to read this, Clifford D. Simak's Waystation. So I've read a couple of his books, but I haven't read Waystation yet, and it's supposed to be one of his best. I did like City. I think he's an interesting writer, and just because of some luck I had in a particular second-hand shop, I've got about 8 of his books to read. So I need to read Waystation. I really like Theodore Sturgeon, and how cool is this cover? I need to read Venus Plus X. I'm assuming it's Venus Plus X and not Venus Plus 10. I'm going with X, but this is a really strange plot, actually. He awoke to terror. He was in a silver cell, and all he could remember was his name, Charlie Johns. And later they told him that he was in Ladom, a country where the people were wise and gentle and kind. They tried to help Charlie Johns, but they were strange. It just sounds really odd. So there we go. Theodore Sturgeon is quite an idiosyncratic writer, I think. This is an author that I've got a few of her books now, but I've never read anything by her, so I want to try her out. Hunter of Worlds by C.J. Cherry. I think she kind of writes action-based adventure-y things, I think. But again, don't know for sure. But C.J. Cherry's Hunter of Worlds is the one that I've picked out for Sci-Fi September if I get to her. And then one more. Gordon R. Dixon and the Masters of Everon. So, I mean, I've got tons of Anna Dean Foster I want to read as well, but I've just picked these ones out. I couldn't decide which one to pick for Anna Dean Foster because I've bought so many. But Masters of Everon is an awesome cover. And I think they're sentient lions, I think, from what I gather, from what I remember from the back. But anyway, that's been talked about a lot. I know it's got a relatively high status as a classic, so I want to read that as well. So there's tons of science fiction I want to get through. That's besides all the new science fiction I've got to read. That's old vintage science fiction. Very exciting though. So I'm going to try and read that in September and let you know how I'm getting on. And I will probably put a few other things in there. But I definitely want to go back to science fiction. I don't know if New Worlds November is going to happen. That's a fantastic event that Scott and Becky, the Bookish Bryants, led last year. And I was a co-host. It was actually, I think, the second time it ran, but it was the first time I'd co-hosted it last year. And that's all about celebrating science fiction. I'd love it if it happened again. But even if it doesn't happen again, I really ought to get through these books and concentrate on my first love, which is science fiction. So let me know what science fiction books you've been reading lately in the comments, because I'd love to get more suggestions fed to me and see what else I can build up from those books. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.
I know where you're going, and I won't follow you through.